The suspect in Wednesday's attack on two National Guard members in downtown Washington, D.C., now facing a murder charge after 20-year-old U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her injuries. The other wounded guardsman, 24-year-old Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, remains in critical condition. CNN's Brian Todd is near the scene of the attack with the latest details. Brian?
Right, Boris, we have some incremental but important new information regarding the one guardsman who was wounded in the attack, Andrew Wolf, 24 years old. A spokesperson for the Joint Task Force DC, which oversees the National Guard, told us a short time ago that Wolf is still in critical condition. The spokesperson said she was not aware of, at the moment, of any pending surgeries or other procedures for Wolf, but they're trying to nail that down, so we hope to get some additional information regarding his treatment and what he may be going through in just a short time. And we can also reiterate the information that we know about the deceased National Guard member, Sarah Beckstrom, who lost her life as a result of this shooting. She was 20 years old, from Somersville, West Virginia. She began her military service on June 26, 2023, and she was assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company. Her family and friends talking to CNN extensively about how dedicated she was as a Guard member over the past couple of days. And we additionally got some new information regarding the suspect, Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, 29 years old, an Afghan national who was airlifted to the United States in 2021. According to Jeanine Pirro, the Attorney General for the District of Columbia, he is now going to face an additional charge of first-degree murder in this case. He had previously faced 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed and 1 count of possession of a firearm with the intent to commit violence. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi had said earlier that he was going to face the death penalty. She said that if a service member had lost their life as a result of this attack, that they would do everything that they could to seek the death penalty. And of course, unfortunately, that has come to pass. So we're going to see how the legal process plays out for the suspect. In the meantime, Boris, what we can show you is a very moving scene here at the scene of the shooting. This makeshift memorial has really grown exponentially since we've been here just over the past day. Lots of bunches of flowers, notes, wreaths and flags placed here. And we'll pan up a little bit to the ledge just above the memorial, because that was a very interesting scene. We saw a young 21-year-old Marine place that vase with the roses there. And just below the vase there, you can see an American flag patch and 2 challenge coins, which military members and service members, also law enforcement people, tend to exchange with each other as gestures of goodwill. And we talked to this young Marine who declined to give us his name because he was not authorized to speak to the media, but he told us that he found all the political rhetoric and the finger pointing surrounding this attack, quote, disgusting. He says it all has to stop. We have to realize here that a young service member has lost their life. So he was just one of many members of the public coming through here, praying, laying flowers, and reflecting on the tragedy that occurred right here outside the Farragut West metro station. Boris?
Yeah, our thoughts are with that fallen service member's family and the one still in the hospital. Brian Todd in D.C., thank you so much. A lot of questions are being raised by now about the process that allowed the shooting suspect not only to come to the United States from Afghanistan, but then be granted asylum by the Trump administration, as well as what led him to drive all the way from Washington state to the nation's capital to carry out this attack. Let's bring in CNN senior correspondent Josh Campbell, who used to work for the FBI, and CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller. And John, I understand that you have some new reporting on the investigation into this suspect.
Well, so far as they've been going through his computers and social media, what they have not found is something that points them at a clear motive. That could develop any day now as they get more access to more electronics and then get communications from different internet providers. What's interesting, Boris, is that process of the vetting. When I was at the Joint Terrorism Task Force on the NYPD side, when all of this was going on in 2021, we knew there were problems with the vetting. Incomplete documentation from Afghanistan, documents that weren't complete, dates of birth that were hard to track, information from multiple U.S. agencies that were across multiple different databases, not a centralized one where it was hard with all the different names to figure out who was who and what their exact background was. But in this case, You have an individual who had worked for the U.S. in a CIA-supported special military team in the Afghan Military Special Forces. This was a team operating in Kandahar, where Rahmanullah Lakhwani had been one of the soldiers that was used to target members, according to my sources, of the Taliban, of Al-Qaeda in Kandahar, the Haqqani network, a number of the places there. So we had an awful lot of information about him. Vetting was not going to be the problem. This is the question that emerges, Boris, which is, right now, out of 80,000 immigrants, we have exactly 2 cases that seem to relate directly to terrorist plots. One is this one, the one in front of us. But the other involves a man in Oklahoma City named Tawhidi. Now, Nasir Tawhidi had also worked for the U.S. in Afghanistan as a security officer at the CIA base in Khost, which is the same hometown as Rahmanullah Lakhwani. So what you're seeing is 2 men who we had a special relationship with, who served the United States, who risked their lives and their families, both of whom passed the vetting process because we had a lot of information on them, as the 2 that emerged in these plots. In the Oklahoma City plot, Nasir was supposed to be gathering 500 rounds of ammunition, 2 AK-47s, according to a federal complaint, to do an attack on Election Day.
Wow.
It's raising this question in the background, less about the vetting and more about the analytic question: what happened to these 2 men who fought for America in Afghanistan, fought to get to America with their families, and then in a very short number of years turned against the country that they had called their new home?
Yeah. And Josh, one of the interesting aspects of this new reporting is that sources are indicating that the suspect's family said he suffered from PTSD. What are you learning?
Well, that would make sense. I mean, a lot of times when the CIA and FBI agents, U.S. military, are on the front lines overseas trying to stop threats, it's these foreign nationals embedded with them that are trying to help do the same thing. I mean, these types of assets are critical to have a host nation person that can help serve as a fixer, an interpreter, help serve as an intelligence collection platform. And so that would make sense if that indeed ends up being the case. Of course, that doesn't excuse the heinous behavior that happened. One thing that interests me is that as authorities try to determine whether this was someone who was truly inspired or directed by a foreign terror organization versus someone who was acting upon their own grievances, is there are certain peculiarities here. The first, and I'll note that, when John and I were in the FBI, we would routinely pore over reams of propaganda from these foreign terror networks. And if you look at the victim pool here, and this is grim, but this is something that analysts are looking at, we're talking about 2 people that were shot. Groups like ISIS don't want 2 people shot. They want 200 people shot. And so that is notable, that this person was going to risk his own life to approach this small group of National Guards members on the streets of D.C. And then the second thing that stands out is the type of weaponry that was used. John just mentioned in a previous case, a person was gathering AK-47s, these assault-style rifles. What type of firearm are we talking about in this case in D.C.? It's a revolver pistol. These are often clunky, they can be slower to reload. And so again, if this was someone who was really following the direction or inspiration of a foreign terror group, they would have all kinds of other weaponry that they could achieve, or obtain semi-automatic weapons and the like in order to conduct a mass casualty attack. So a lot of questions still at this hour to determine whether this person was inspired, or again, whether this was PTSD or some personal grievance.
Josh Campbell, John Miller, thank you both.